You know what? I love when I see people doing real estate investing, but you know what drives me nuts? Is that when I look at it, I realize, oh no, they've been doing it all wrong. So today I want to talk about the 5 key things that I see with what people are doing wrong with real estate and how you can correct that and do it right so you can actually create more wealth faster, even if you're just doing the same things. All right, so number 1, the biggest mistake I see happening is do not buy in your own backyard. So often I see people that they buy in their own town or their own city, and many times that is not the place you want to be. A lot of times, especially if you're in the western half of the United States like I am, you buy out in our own areas here, and the cash flow is really low compared to the prices, because prices are high, especially when you have that California wave moving in, because they're all moving away from California into our states, right? Then just drives up the prices, but the rent is not going up with that. So what does that mean? Is that you own this asset, but you can barely make any cash flow on it. That means you have very little wiggle room in case there's repairs that need to be made or if somebody has to move out. Not so much an investment, but it ends up being a burden to you. Now you might feel like you're an investor, but the truth is that really all you have is a really expensive piece of property that does not provide any real freedom for you. I'll give you an example. I actually had a client who did this. It was his very first home he bought, and then he turned around, rented it out when he bought his new home. And he had this for years. But the problem is that this thing was paying him only $200 a month. Now, I'm gonna tell you this, guys. Wait till the end, because I got a bonus about how you can even know whether you should sell the property or not. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about that story coming up in a bit here. But I'll tell you, this actually helped him go from $200 a month to $70,000 a year by understanding this one thing. So my key point is, one, is don't just look in your backyard. You can actually buy real estate anywhere across the country. And did you know you don't even have to be the one managing that property? All right, so number 2, another mistake I see people make is that you don't have to be a real estate genius. Sometimes people won't won't do real estate, or 2, they'll do real estate, but they'll play very small with it. They'll buy that 1 or maybe 2 properties, but they feel like they have to be this real estate genius to get in. Some people say, oh, I'm not a really good property manager, or I don't understand how to do all these different methods and strategies. You don't have to. There are so many ways that you can invest in real estate and be at least somewhat passive. I say somewhat because if anybody ever says it's just totally passive, hands off, you don't do squat, that's not true. There's things that you still have to do as being managing the stewardship. But understand that you don't have to be an amazing genius. You don't have to understand about all these different terminologies and flips and wholesaling, all that kind of stuff. You don't need to do that to do real estate. But you do need to understand some common key concepts and principles that make this work for you. Number 3, you don't need a lot of money down. That's another mistake. Some people say, oh, I don't have a ton of cash to put on this property. Well, you can do what's called the BRRRR method, as in BRRR, right? BRRRR means for buy, renovate, refinance, and then repeat. So what you're doing is this, is that you buy a property, but you buy it for a property that you live in. Why? Because if you buy an investment property, you have to put at least 20% down. So if it's a $200,000 property, you need $40,000 cash to put as a down payment on that property. But if you're buying that property to live in, maybe say it's a duplex, you live in one unit and then somebody else lives in another, well, you could put 3 or 5% down instead. You can do like an FHA loan. So if you put only 5% down, guess what? That $200,000 property, you only need $10,000 instead of $40,000. So you can go and move into that property. You can help fix it up a little bit, renovate it, rent it out, and refinance, get equity out as well, and then you repeat it. You can keep going. And so really it's not just BRRR, it could be BRRRR. Yeah, so anyways, so BRRRR, right? You could buy it, renovate it, rent it, then refinance it, and then repeat again. And you can do that to be able to build up your portfolio much faster while having somebody else pay your payment for you, allowing you to build up more cash to then reinvest and buy more. So just so you know, you don't need a lot of money down. You just need to know how to do it just right. You could also do this even if it's not a multi-unit type of thing. You buy a single family home, you can move into it, stay there for maybe a year or so, and then move out, rent it out, and then move into your next property. And you can keep doing that once per year. Move in, you can renovate it while you're living in there for the next 12 months, and then you move out, rent it out. Now, warning, this is a big warning. You usually only want to do this if it's a good market to be renting in. So remember, going back to point number 1 about not buying your own backyard, this kind of comes back to it. If you're in a place where the rents aren't great, this may not be a very profitable venture. You might find out that, yeah, you might have built some equity, but you probably didn't make a lot of cash flow, even after putting all that time, energy, and money into it. So just be careful of that, okay? Number 4, is don't manage your own properties. This is a big one. This is probably one of the number one objections I get from people. They'll say, yeah, but Chris, I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to deal with the tenants, the toilets, and the trash, right? Well, I don't either. I'm totally there with you. In fact, I realized when I did try to be my own property manager, because I thought that would save myself some money doing it, it was the worst thing in the world for a few reasons. One, they had to call me whenever they needed something, right? So if they needed repairs, I had to be the one they called. Just so you know, I'm not handy. I have to rely on trying to be handsome. And even at that, I'm barely making it work here. But, I'm not a very handy person. So I'm not the person to do the repairs. I have to go find a contractor, then do the repairs and pay for that. I don't have to deal with those kind of calls. I don't have to plunge toilets, right? I don't want to deal with that kind of crap. And I don't think you do either for the most part. And that's the good news, is that you don't have to. Here's the key, is find a great property manager. I would say this is probably the number one important thing, especially when you're doing more passive, hands-off investing in real estate, is you gotta have a great property manager. Definitely look at the reviews, even talk to people. If you happen to know people that deal with that property manager, whether it be renters and or even investors, ask, interview them, see if that property manager is good. Because I'll tell you from my own personal experience, I made way more money not managing my own properties. Because if somebody went late on that rent, I wasn't the one that wanted to go knock on their door and asking, hey, where's my money? I would do that, but I would give in to every little sob story that they would throw at me. I was like, okay, well, I'll give you some more time. Okay, you can go 3 months late. No, property managers, they know how to do the business right when they're good, and they'll make sure that you get paid. And so they are more than worth the extra little money out of pocket to be able to do that. But again, if you're buying in your own backyard, you probably feel like you don't have enough money, like I did. There's not enough cash flow to justify it. That's why, again, you want to make sure you're buying in markets that have better rents, higher rents, compared to lower prices. That's the kind of thing that you want to look for. Now, that's the big thing. I don't want you to manage your own properties. But number 5, this has to be done, is that you need to focus on profit, okay? Like I kept saying again and again, you want to make sure that you have more than enough cash flow coming in, because you never know when there's maintenance that has to be had, and you don't know if there might be a period of time where you're in between renters. It doesn't even mean that you have to evict anybody or that your property manager has to evict anybody. It might just mean that they have to find a new renter because somebody's moving away because of work-related issues or whatever it might be. You want to make sure you're building up reserves. Oh, here's a key bonus point for you. Make sure you also build up reserves. Don't spend all your cash flow or reinvest all your cash flow. Keep some reserves. I think for at least a single family home, keep at least $3,000 on hand. If you have 2 properties, keep at least $5,000 on hand and just kind of keep increasing based on the number of properties you have. So that might mean that cash flow is being reinvested to just go in your savings account. But your focus needs to be on having profit, having that extra cash flow. If you're just barely making your mortgage payments and paying your property manager with the rent proceeds that are coming in, you're probably in the wrong property. And that leads me to my final point here. This is my bonus tip that I told you about, is sell when the return on equity is low. What's return on equity? Return on equity is what's the investment rate that you're making on the equity in the property. So let's use this example here. Let's just say that you're only making $100 a month on this property, right? So about $1,200 a year. But the equity in that property is $100,000. Now, if you're only cash flowing $100 a month, $1,200, but it has $100,000 equity, that means your return on equity is 1.2% a year, which means it kind of sucks. Right? That's not a good thing. You do not want to be making 1.2% a year on that equity. Now, you might say, yeah, but that $100 a month, I put very little money down. Maybe you only put $10,000 down, and you're like, now I'm making $1,200 a month. That's 12% return, isn't it? That's true on your original investment. But naturally, as you've noticed, as you start to pay your mortgage down, or even better, your renters pay your mortgage down for you, and at the same time, there's appreciation in the property too. So you get this little big increase that happens of your equity. Then what happens, you have an opportunity cost. What if I don't invest this? So what you want to do is you want to take the equity and invest it elsewhere. You can take the $100,000 and say you can make even just 8% somewhere else. That means you're now making $8,000 a year instead of $1,200 a year. So to give you back the example, back to my client in California there, he had $700,000 of equity, but only making $200 a month. So he's making $2,400 a year with $700,000 of equity in this property. So you do the math, he's making like 1/3% per year. Horrible rate of return. He is finally to the point where he says, all right, Chris, I get it. I need to sell this, because he can go from that $2,400 a year, even if he makes 10% on that, he's making $70,000 a year. And yes, there are ways to actually make 10% returns on your properties. That kind of profit even, not just gross rent, but I'm talking about net profit. You could even make up to 10% a year or so. So yes, there's way better opportunities there. And really, in reality, he was actually missing out on some of the best deals he could have done. He could have been growing his wealth much better had he focused on that one key point, which is return on equity. So calculate that for yourself. If it's less than, I would say 5%, you might want to consider moving into something better and be able to get better cash flow and even get better appreciation on your properties. All right, guys, those are my 5 key points there for you. So if you like this video, check out my other Stop Doing What's Wrong videos. Check out the rest of them in this series as well.